Hello and welcome to Core Finance, again at the RAC Club, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Nicky Goméz and Sian Jones, both experts on DLT. Now, some of our viewers may not know what DLT is, or they may know some similar words, cryptocurrency, blockchain, etc. So starting off with you, Sian, can you just explain what DLT is?
Okay, so distributed ledger technology is the underlying technology that was first created with Bitcoin. Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency, as a virtual currency, it was the first of its kind to create, if you like, a form of digital cash, one which is both currency and payment system rolled into one, which doesn't need any intermediaries. And what was discovered quite early on was that what made Bitcoin so useful and enabled it to function in the way that it does has application across a wide range of financial and non-financial use cases, so that you can expect to see the use of this technology in just about every kind of financial activity, and also in public sector and private sector too.
Fantastic, Sian. And Nicky, you work for the Gibraltar government, so just explain where Gibraltar currently is with regards to DLT, and talk us through a little bit of the regulation that you're now putting in place. I believe comes into place in January 2018.
Just to clarify, I work for the Gibraltar Financial Services Commission, which is the regulator of financial services in Gibraltar. Over the last year or so, we've been working on a new regulatory framework, which has been specifically designed for firms that operate within the DLT space. So the way that we've defined the scope of the new framework is for any firm that in or from within Gibraltar, and that does so by way of business, uses distributed ledger technology to either store or transmit value belonging to their customers, will have to be regulated under this new framework. So the framework has been designed to give regulatory certainty to any firm that wants to operate in this space and do it from Gibraltar. It's going to deliver consumer protection, and it's going to ensure that Gibraltar's reputation as a well-regulated and safe place from which the business continues to be so and continues to be protected.
Good stuff. And Sian, I mean, cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, DLT. I mean, it's a virtual currency or virtual idea. I mean, it can be a very hard thing to regulate, especially when you're looking at cross borders, etc. So, what are the challenges that Gibraltar has with regards to regulation?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that there's no intention to regulate the technology. There's no intention to regulate Bitcoin or regulate other applications, other use cases. What we're doing in this new framework is to regulate businesses, business activities, just as we do in other financial services. By regulating the activities and the firms that undertake those activities, we can ensure that that provides safety for consumers or investors or whoever the other side of the transaction is, and also enable the reputation of Gibraltar to be enhanced. What we want to see is good economic value benefit to the jurisdiction, but to do that safely, we need to make sure that we try and keep the bad actors out, and that the actors who are regulated are performing their functions in a well-regulated fashion. If we take e-gaming, for example, which was another area that was entirely new, in the 20-odd years that Gibraltar has been regulating e-gaming businesses, not one single e-gaming company has gone under. And we're very proud of that reputation, and we hope to emulate that in the way that we regulate the conduct of DLT businesses.
Super. And Nicky, you mentioned in your speech today about the regulation is there for companies that want to be regulated. if you don't want to be regulated, then you're effectively not welcome in Gibraltar, which is a positive sign. And in your speech, you talked about the 9 principles, which for a lot of people who are used to working in a regulated environment will understand and see a lot of mirroring going on. Without going through the 9 principles one by one, can you just highlight anything that's really important to you in Gibraltar and the regulators?
I just want to clarify sort of maybe some of the thinking of why it's a principles-based regulatory approach. So for us, as I mentioned in my speech, it was initially we were challenged, and one of the things that we needed to overcome is how do we design something which can stand the test of time. So something which will grow as the industry grows, as the industry matures, without stifling innovation. And the solution that we came up with is by applying an outcomes-focused and principles-based approach. And as I said before, the key is about taking a risk-based approach and applying each of the principles proportionally. So the principles so there's 9, as you mentioned, there are 9 regulatory principles, for us, all of which are equally important. But just to highlight a few is we're going to be looking at the individuals who are going to be operating these businesses. We expect them to work, to operate the business with honesty, with integrity. They need to have the necessary skills and experience in order to be able to successfully drive and manage your business. We're going to ensure that consumers are always protected. So firms need to have the best interest of their customers at the center of their operations. So we need to make sure that any risks are adequately signaled to the customers so that they know exactly what they're getting into. The financial resources, so we're going to monitor, we're going to make sure that all companies have sufficient and ongoing regulatory capital which is commensurate to their business. And one very important factor for me is around the risk management. So for me, all firms, we expect them to be forward-looking, to be proactive in trying to identify, especially within such a new sector, is what could possibly go wrong in the future, which could harm not just the business, but their customers and the reputation of Gibraltar. And then another sort of key is around the financial crime elements of it. So all companies operating from Gibraltar will have to comply with the anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist requirements.
Super. And just to round off, one thing that was key in your speech is the flexibility. Whereas other regulators, and we're not going to mention them, but they may take a broad overview of companies and try and get a one-size-fits-all. One thing that came across and was quite clear in your speech is that you will look at companies on a case-by-case basis. And surely, for anyone that wants to be regulated in Gibraltar, that's fantastic news. It shows you have an understanding of the underlying business and not, as I say, just a one-size-fits-all approach.
We've for me, one of the key factors when we first got involved is exactly that. I think for us to be able to get comfortable with the risks, to be able to manage those risks, you need to understand the business. So for us, one of the first things that we did when we started off was engage with Sian, who is the technical expert, subject matter expert on DLT. I can assure you I am no expert on distributed ledger technology. And in addition to that, what we're doing as well is setting and putting together a panel of experts in different fields, again to support us, to make authorizations, advisory decisions, and to shape the future policy and ensure that the framework develops and grows as the industry matures.
Fantastic. Well, Sian and Nicky, very exciting times. Thank you very much for joining us. Please go and enjoy your breakfast, and thank you for joining us on Core Finance today.
Thank you very much.